Your typical podcast. Thank you for listening to Your Typical Podcast. It is a new year and gonna see some changes around here. But I'm my bestie here to talk about all things the new year. So welcome Eli to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes, two-time podcast guest.
I'm on a streak here, trying to make it a three episode go
I
around.
think you're on the podcast like close to the top of the new year last year too, actually.
That's true.
I think. I don't remember. So you guys don't know this, but obviously we know this. Like, it's not technically the new year; it's the end of January. Um, but I want to do some reflecting. I like to start each season with like New Year check-in, goals for the new year. I always think it's like a good like benchmark to talk about. So I guess like looking back at 2025, I know you kind of have like like a roller coaster of the year. Do you have any like rose or thorn that you rose meaning like something great, and then thorn that means like this wasn't so great that happened, and leaving it behind and looking forward to something new in the new year?
Yeah. I think my thorn was I temporarily moved back to Arizona just to help my parents out. So it was a little unexpected and kind of left all my stuff here in Chicago. But a rose of it was I got to spend some time with both my parents and a couple of friends from Arizona that I wasn't expecting to, and got to take a couple trips and just have some memories for old sake. And it was really unexpected, but a positive thing all around, I'd say.
Yeah, it was kind of sad when you were not here. At least from my perspective, I'm like, oh, like who do I go out with? I used to go with Eli, not here. And I don't even know how long you were gone, but it felt like a long time.
It was like 3.5, 4 months,
Mhm.
mid-August to end of December.
Like if you told me it was a year, I would be like, yeah, like it was like a year.
Honestly, it felt like that a little bit. But so did this year felt like 5 years, or last year felt
Mhm.
like 5 years. It was quite a long year with uh, many more thorns, we'll say.
I feel like similar. I don't know. 2025 was like interesting for me because there's like a lot of highlights. I felt like in my mental capacity and my just like I guess, like, own reverence for myself. Like, I feel like I got a lot stronger. Not apologizing for who I am and really, like, taking the time. I know I go to therapy once a week, and one thing we always talk about is how much I'm communicating and how much I can keep things to myself, and that's not a benefit to myself, if that makes sense. So, like, been really focusing on communicating with people and forcing myself to, even though sometimes communication doesn't always lead to a better outcome. And I think like that's something that I had to learn because there were a few situations where like if I had just shut up and like said nothing, they probably would have turned out fine. But I have been really prioritizing like me communicating how I'm feeling. So I'm not the only one having to deal with the conflicts that happen in daily life. So I guess like a thorn for me is I stopped being friends with friends who I was friends with since 14 years old. And big change for me, truthfully, just because like they've always been in my life. So it feels kind of like weird. And I'm sure they go through the same thing, hopefully, or it's almost like a person who like has always been there, just gone. So that's like a situation that like I have to deal with and own up for my part in it with the friendships breaking up, and friendships do break up, but also like not apologize for just communicating my side. And I think when you do approach situations with communication, it tells you a lot about the other person, how they respond to you trying to communicate with them. So that's something that I learned, and not necessarily the best feeling or makes you feel the best, like in general, but definitely something that I do think is important to me. And I want to have people around me who I can freely communicate with, specifically just like conflict, or even like sometimes conflict is good, sometimes conflict is bad. Like just like communicate with and respond positively to communication rather than, you know, I always like growing up, I hated people like this where like, oh, Eli, I have a problem with you. Well, you have a problem with me because I had a problem. I'm like, no, that's not how you work out things. It's like, what is your issue? Let's talk about it. This is not really a big deal. And that's kind of how I felt about the whole friendships crashing thing. That it really wasn't a big deal, but it got blown out of proportion because of one or other things that, again, and all the grand scheme like feels like so tiny. Like, and I don't know. I think my rose from 2025 is that I feel like I really kind of found my tribe, if that makes sense, like my community in Chicago. Um, so I don't know if I really miss the friendships that much because I also have great friendships now that I just need to kind of cherish because I know like these adult friends, which are very different than like childhood friends. Like there's a sense of convenience and like you're always there around like your friends growing up with in a way like sometimes family feels like a requirement. Like I'm required to be friends with these people because we've known each other since we were 14 years old. Versus like everyone in my life currently are by choice. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an important call out. And like in relationships, like conflict is a part of having relationships with people, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing. And I think, like you said, it can be really telling when you see their reactions or how they respond, especially when you're embracing that encounter with open communication. It can be really enlightening. But I think I definitely saw that growth in you over the last year. And like you'd always tell me about your therapy sessions, and I definitely saw you like apply that to your different interactions and the people that, are in your life. And I think that's a really positive thing to be able to do and, apply that in your day to day.
I think what I suffer from, and I feel like you may suffer from this too. I think I'm just too nice and I'm always thinking about like, what's the nicest way for this to come across? How do I save face and all these things? And I think I just get so obsessed with that or like the idea that like people will get upset by something I say. And I think that's just all like trauma responses. As a kid, like it was better to be the sweet kid and have no issues versus the sweet kid who brought up issues and therefore they didn't have issues because they got resolved. And I think like I realized, like you said, every relationship, whether it's friendship, dating, work, like the error in my ways of, you know, not, and I will say that communication for me is just like kind of setting some boundaries of like, what are my boundaries? How far will I let this person do this thing? And I saw this like interview with Michelle Williams from Destiny Child where she's like, people will get mad at you setting boundaries because they benefited when you didn't have any. And I think that's kind of like very indicative of like the situations that I have been in with like friendships over the past where like I think they're just used to me not saying something or just like used to me like being like, whatever, it's fine. And I'm like, I don't have to be the it's fine person. It's not fine. Actually, I do have a lot to say about this. And I think that's good to find your voice. I've been trying to apply things and honestly, saving me time. Like, I feel like I'm just like walking away from things a little faster than maybe I normally would have, and doing things a little more quickly than I normally would have because I'm just like, no time for bullshit anymore. Like, let's just get past it.
Absolutely. I'm here for it.
Do you have any specific goals for 2026? The year of both of us turning 30. Do you have any goals that are like, this is something I need to do?
Yeah, I think, well, like I said, last year was a really like tumultuous year. And like there's the whole concept of like the snake year and the horse year. And last year was definitely like a year of growth and pushing and like shedding an old skin. And this year I'm kind of approaching it with that like rebirth energy and entering a new chapter, if you will. And it is the year that I turned 30, so a new decade. So I definitely want to try to end my 20s on a positive note and start my 30s as well on like a little bit more of a refreshed and clear mind. But this year, I think I want to prioritize myself mostly overall is putting myself first in situations that I haven't previously. And I think that applies in, a bunch of different facets, both personal, professional, dating, etc. But I think for this year, some like specific things that I'm trying to put my energy into are traveling more and getting more involved in the community. I think like in today's climate, it can be really easy to like be paralyzed in the fear and the anger. And I kind of want to just put some action into that and like build community and pour into community. And I think beyond that, kind of focusing more on just like my general health and wellness, like not from a body image perspective, which is what it has historically been, but more just like wellness and thinking about like myself over the next 30 years and like how I want to take care of my body and my mind, I think is kind of what's the most important.
Those are good goals. I feel like people kind of always relate the body image to like your physical presence, but like mental, emotional well being is also just as important and all those things. That's come something I learned not last year, but like just in general that like just because someone is going to the gym every day, it doesn't make them more healthy or
Yeah.
less healthy. Like, what are you putting into your body? What are you doing to fix your mental health? Like someone who's broken mentally is just as unhealthy as someone who doesn't go to the gym. And I think we all get trapped in like the vanity part of it. So I have that same goal. Like I want to take care of my body better, but not from like a body image standpoint, just from a like what makes me feel good standpoint. So like that's like getting more sleep for me. That's not staying I stay up so late all the time and wake up so early and like making sure that like okay, I have a goal now that like I need to be in bed by 1 every night. Like that's my goal. That's pretty late still. But I'm like, okay, at least I'm getting 7 hours of sleep as opposed to like sometimes I'll get 5, 4, which most people say they can't function. And I'm like, wow, I'm always getting that amount of sleep. So finding that for me is a big thing. Also pouring into people around me as well. Like I think that's my goal. I sometimes like I said, like I think sometimes you can get a little sidetracked with like what's going bad around you or like what relationships aren't working out that like you forget to like stop and be like what relationships do I have, like who is like the one big thing, not to get too deep in the weeds of, but like last year I really had to like focus and remind myself like because all this drama with friends started over a birthday party and like my big thing for me was that like I don't really need to focus on who's not here. I want to focus on who is here. And I think just taking that and like applying it to like other aspects of life, like I don't really want to focus on like what's not going well for me. I don't want to focus on who doesn't show up or like who doesn't check in. I want to focus on the people who do take the time to do so. And I have so many good like friends who like actually like I can say like keep me apprised in their lives. We may not talk. Like, I know we kind of talk every day, but even if we didn't, I wouldn't feel like we missed a beat if there's 2 weeks that we didn't talk. Like we could pick right back up. And I just want to embrace those relationships because I do think I have a lot of beautiful friendships and like colleagues, people who I sometimes like again I kind of put blinders on them, like really just going like a one track mind type of thing. And I want to just make sure I like cherish them too. So those are my two goals. And I think I just have some creative goals. I think I've been really trying to focus on doing more, which is funny. Someone like me who's probably like more creative than most people. Like I just still feel like I'm not doing enough, which I think it probably will never feel like enough. But I think challenging myself to do things that maybe I normally would not do. Like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I like sang in a choir and I don't really feel that comfortable singing choral music just because like I'm not the strongest music reader and everything. But like there was a big challenge and I felt like I rose to the occasion. And even yesterday I went to this one-day choir thing, which was really awesome. And I'm like, okay, I want to keep doing stuff like this. Like, if I'm not going to be performing on this stage anytime soon, like, I at least want to be tapped into like creative resources around me too. So those are my main goals, I think.
It sounds like some good things are on the horizon for both of us.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I can get an agent and leave this wretched place of this workplace that we're in right now. And I want to do more commercials too. The commercials that I did were so fun. So I want to do more of those. Um, all fun things. I think I'm just like focusing on the positives and like this very dark world. Um, do you have any dating goals?
Yeah, I'm starting to date again. I haven't been dating really for the last year or so, mostly because I was not in Chicago and also wasn't sure like if I was going to be moving out of Chicago or not. But I'm back to dating slowly. I want to like approach dating in some other ways apart from just like the apps,
Mhm.
which have not really been the most successful. So I know like you and I have talked about like going to some speed dating events or like there's some other ways to meet people in person, I think is kind of maybe where I should focus.
Yeah, I feel that way too. Yes, this like is surprising to some people because I really haven't talked about it, but I am single now. Shocker! Oh my gosh. I really haven't told anyone. So that's kind of funny because I'm like, oh yeah, this is a public forum. I haven't told anyone because I don't know why. I just feel like it hasn't really been relevant. I think when it's relevant, I've been like telling more people, but truthfully, I think I was dating someone loosely since July, but like officially since October, and like things didn't work out. And going back to my initial goal of like just communication and everything, like I do think that we would have probably still been dating and like things might have been a little awry if I hadn't like spoken up and like said the things that I wanted to. But like there's no way to live. So like even if you have to like step away from something just by communicating, then like so be it. It's kind of like my move towards dating. So my goal this year is to meet people more organic ways. I've been very much the person like on the apps and I never want to make friends on like an app. I'm never going into an app, which is I know so funny to say because we met on an app as friends. But I think like again, like I know that like our friendship started organically. It wasn't just like let's be friends. We were friends. And I think I need to be more open to like maybe some organic friendships might come from meeting people on an app. And it doesn't always have to be romantic. And maybe sometimes like the start is friendship and it goes to romantic. But I've been so closed off to that. So I don't even know like who I might miss out on because I'm so pushed away by that. So I'm definitely trying to open myself up to that more. Then, like you said, like speed dating, I want to do more. I want to challenge myself to like meet people in person. I don't know how, like maybe going to like social events and like even yesterday at the choir thing, like there was a guy who I thought was cute and like normal me wouldn't be like, hey, like let's exchange Instagrams. I wanted to, so like really challenging myself to like take that extra step. I mean, just like in the name of growing as a dater too, like it doesn't have to be like a long term. I think what I'm used to, which I think I'm now realizing, breaking things off with Andy as well. But like there's so long that like I would date someone for long term, like long periods of time. But there's never been a point in my life where I've been like just dating just to date. So I guess I want to get back to that and like if something grows from that, maybe. If not, that's okay too. So yeah, those are my dating goals.
Well, we'll see how it goes for both of us.
Yes. I'm excited to do the speed date. I've done the speed dating once. Wasn't my favorite thing, but like perhaps like a different batch of eligible bachelors might be better. I don't know. But we'll see. I'm excited to even do it with a friend as well. I think that is what I noticed that a lot of people had when they were there too. which maybe is a little more comfortable. And also, I don't know, you always have like a home base to like go back to like if things are going completely awry. Like also you can like chat about it after. I felt like telling people about the speed dates was like
I don't understand it.
there's like 20 people. Like, how do I sum this up? But like I'll be like, remember the guy who ordered too many beers? Like I want to be able to like pinpoint exactly those people. Um One thing I am excited about to see, and I guess like I'm curious to know like your perspective, just because like I'm not gonna say too much. Um, but you're gonna be playing like a LRG, which is a live reality game in person in May. I think that's when it is. Are you excited?
Yeah, it's going to be like a in-person survivor game, which you've played, and that was kind of how I learned about it. And I think also another thing I'm trying to do this year is just do new things. And I'm
Mhm,
that's like very much so reserved and like introverted. Like I definitely have my moments of being extroverted, but it's usually in spaces where I know the people.
mhm.
So this is very much against that and out of my comfort zone. But you had a really good experience, and I was like, hey, why not? Let me try it. And it
Yeah,
was
I think it's so fun. I am excited. So I'm on the production team, so I get to watch. So I'm excited to watch you play. I'm also excited to I'm looking at the cast without saying anyone who's on the cast. I think it's a great cast, like just layout. So I'm excited to see like how you all interact with each other. And yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be so fun for me. I know I played actually twice, which is funny to say, like, oh my god, oh that. But like, I know for my first time going in, I did not know what to expect. So I'm like, okay, what is my own strategy? So I went and basically, I'm gonna be myself, but I know I need to have an alliance. Like that was my goal. Like I need to lock in with some people here because like I don't know. I'm kind of a control freak, so like going to the game, like how do I lock in? And I did. I my tribe kept losing, and we kept losing people. But I will say the benefit of that was that like the people who I was voting with, we were really a strong core three, four, if you want to count another person. Like we were strong core four, three. So it was like nice going into the merge with like four people who I trusted like 100%. And we did basically what basically I got in the position, which was a great position, where I was like, damn, like I'm just like, it's Eli and then it's Donnie. Like I'm the calling the order, but that came to bite me in the final five because everyone saw me as a big threat, which makes sense. Like I wouldn't say I wasn't a threat. I think I could have won if I made it to the end. So then there was an all-star season that got invited back. So I was like, okay, I need to play a different strategy because like the last time like calling the shots didn't work out for me. Also, I'm playing against all strong players, so like how do I navigate it? So I actually like did play a more passive role. Like there were things that like I could have stopped happening that I did not purposely. Like there was an for instance, there was a guy who was gonna get voted out and I had an idol and he asked me to play it for him and I thought he might be going home and I was like, no, I didn't play for him. Just because I was like, I don't want to like draw too much attention to myself that I'm trying to control things. And I need to be able to let people go. That was also another thing that like I felt like I played wrong, where like I am so loyal to a fault. That like I just like my friend being on the jury is actually better for me. Let them go. Goodbye. Peace
ah,
out. So, but then when it got to the final five, and everyone saw me as a big threat again. So, like, there's really no perfect strategy. But I'm curious to know, like, what do you think your strategy is going in? You can change this, obviously. Like, you got months to plan. But I
yeah.
want to know your like, initial, like, what do you think? What type of player are you going to be?
I think I'm gonna like lean into just like my natural personality traits of just like being um like someone that's a listener and an observer, but also like I somewhat like I attract people to just like kind of become friendly with. And I think there'll be a possibility of just like kind of coming up from the shadows. People won't maybe necessarily expect it, but you never know how that will shake out, especially when
Yeah.
you don't know the people and it could literally go in 100 different directions.
That's honestly, I think that's the fun part. It's like part of me is like, I don't want to lose because I don't like losing, but then also I'm like, if I lose, it's okay. Like it's fine. There's really no big stakes. So I say go for it. Do your thing. Have fun. I think the have fun is the best part. And also like I thought it was like very great way to make new friends and new connections. I wouldn't say I'm like besties with anyone from playing, but I'm definitely like if I see them out or like I invited them to my birthday party and they invite me to their birthday party. Like it's like new friends that I wouldn't have if I didn't do it. And also like just the reality online slash in-person games in general, like really like I really have some good friends that I made like from playing them, which I think I downplayed at first, but I'm like, no, actually like I've really made good connections. So I wanna that's my advice. Like value the connections. But it should be fun. I'm excited. Like it's like on my like list of things that I'm excited for this year. Like watching you play Survivor is one of my excited. So make me proud.
I'm excited too. It feels like it's so far away, but I know it'll be here like in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. It's like really far away. Um, I it's funny that I have like two different experiences because on the regular season, it's really cold. Like I remember freezing my ass off, like yeah, outside all day long. But then the second season, it was so fucking hot. Like I'm like literally, I'm sure people got sunburned for how hot it was. Like the other day, like it was like 90 degrees. I'm like, this how they is on Fiji, huh? Um, all good things. That's all we'll say about that. We'll put a button in it and maybe we'll talk about it later.
We'll come back
Or
in
keywords
5 months.
in 5 months. Is it? Oh, that's so long. 4 months. It's February, like tomorrow. Something I also wanted to ask you about. You can get as deep or like as undeep as you want to. But I thought it was like interesting, and I think it can be a good conversation. Is that like I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. You were like, "Oh, yeah, I had a therapy session. I cried the whole time." And I was like, "Oh, was it a good cry or a bad cry?" And you're like, "I don't know. I think I just found the will to live for the first time in a while." So what does that mean? And, like, how I don't know, like, you can like I said, you can start to take the lead of, like, how much you wanna share, and you tell us.
Yeah. I think well, that was definitely a funny moment. It was an enlightening therapy session and just kind of a release a little bit. Yeah, like not to necessarily trauma dump too much, but my dad has dementia, and so that definitely puts a lot of like strain on the family just in terms of trying to care for him and like think long term about his care and like what's going to be best for him. And that, just put me in a place last year and the last couple years of not necessarily prioritizing myself and you know up until and during this therapy session was just kind of like realization a little bit of just like it's time for me to do that and like it's okay for me to do that and actually that like investing and pouring into myself is actually in some ways like showing up for my dad. Like I'm, building myself up, pouring into myself so that, I will be in a better place to be able to support in, kind of whatever capacity I can when it's more so needed. But, really beyond the past couple years before we knew that my dad had dementia, like I've always struggled with my mental health for at least the last like 10 or 12 years and really started when I began college. And that was just really like a big adjustment in terms of moving out and being on my own. And college itself was very difficult compared to like my educational experience prior. And it just really put a lot of strain on my mental health. And ever since then, it hasn't really been in a necessarily like a great place. I've been in a stable place, but not like, oh yeah, I'm feeling really great and like feeling positive just about life. And not to say that like things are, roses and butterflies now, but just feeling a little bit more optimism and feeling just kind of energized about the idea of like trying to find joy and enjoying life and not, seeing just black and blank in terms of like thinking about a future for myself, but like actually seeing color and seeing dimension in life is kind of the precipice of what I reached in that therapy session, and just kind of getting I got a little emotional about, like, having that realization and being in that state of mind because I haven't felt that way in, like, 15 plus years, and so it was just a really kind of euphoric and momentous realization to have and kind of place to reach.
Oh, that's super deep. I guess like I was your friend too. Like, I mean, I'm sure people tell you this all the time. I feel like you're hard to read, and I'm probably the similar way because I feel like we're both very baseline people. Of like, a lot of people have a lot of like, I'm gonna talk up here, then I'm gonna talk down, and then I'm pretty like flatline. Yeah, which benefit and non-benefit. I think benefit because it's hard for people to read you. You don't wear your emotions on your sleeve, but then non-benefit because it's hard to read it. It's like people don't know how to support sometimes. What do you think was like the like catalyst for like change in that? Like obviously like you went to the therapy session. Do you think it was like just spending the time at home and like kind of being like, okay, something has to change? Or like what do you think made that switch for you?
I think it was, like, being at home, like, back in Arizona, and I was staying with my parents, so that was an adjustment in terms of, like, moving back in with my parents for the first time, like, really since high school. During the time I was gone, it was my birthday and just, like, really missing my community and the friends and the relations that I've built in Chicago during that time. Just, like, having the realization that there really wasn't much for me besides my parents, like, back home. Like, I didn't really have many friends there anymore, and I didn't really have much family there besides my parents that I was close with, and, didn't have the community that I had built here and just, like, all the things that I, like, really like and enjoy about Chicago, I just didn't have there, and it just, kind of led me to just have this realization of, like, this isn't where I wanna be, or, like, this isn't something I'm willing to sacrifice or accept for myself, and kind of from there, just took the steps to figure out, like, what that meant for me and my family, and kind of tried to prioritize myself through that, and not, like, necessarily in a selfish way, but just, like, at the end of the day, I do need to do what's best for myself, and, like, you know, trying to think about what that means for myself long term. So it's been an exercise of trusting myself and advocating for my needs, and trying to navigate that has been interesting but positive overall.
I definitely can sense like I think I told you when you came back, I guess like a lightness
Yeah.
about you. Like I think I like to see that side of you because I mean not saying it like you're like sad, but just saying like you can tell when someone has like a bright energy, like or like a spark or something. And I as your friend enjoying it seeing that in you. But also I'm happy that you can find I don't know. I feel like as like transplants, like obviously like saying like both of us live in a place that we didn't come from, if that makes sense. Me is a little different because I guess I was born in Chicago, but like I didn't grow up here. But like home changes. Like I feel like people always say like home, like are you going home? Or like I always got that growing up, even from my siblings because like me and I have a different dad than, like, all of my siblings. So, like, they would be like, "Oh, you're going home for the summer," and home was Chicago. Like, my home was always Milwaukee, and then moving here to Chicago, for a while, like, my home was Milwaukee. Like, I would go back to Milwaukee all the time, like, back and forth, back and forth. But now, like 5 years in, I'm like, "Oh, my home is Chicago now." Like, I feel home here, and I would feel kind of out of place moving back, whether it was for 2 months, like 5 months, like, it would feel kind of like a fish out of water to me because in my head, I left that behind. Like, it's like I outgrew that place, which is why I left that place. Um, and, I think it's important to kind of find your home. Like I think we all have our family homes and like where our family chose to be. But I think, like you said, like putting yourself in the driver's seat of like, where do I feel like is my home? Is important. I had a I guess not similar situation, but like guess we can draw some similarities of when my stepdad passed away. My mom actually asked me to move back to Milwaukee. And I thought about it and like I wanted to be there to support her and like be there for her. But ultimately, kind of what my and I talked to her about this and I was happy that she understood. And I think it gave me like confidence, like feel confident in my own decision. I remember being like, I would love to be there for you, but I would be so unhappy. And at this point in my life, like I don't want to be moving backwards. I don't want to be taking steps back in my progression. I want to just keep growing. And I think me moving back home to Milwaukee would stop my growth and like stop everything that I've worked so hard over the last plus years to build, and that's just not fair to like me. It's not. I deserve to live my life just as you and my mom got to live her life and make choices and decide. And I mean, even as a kid, like she made decisions that I didn't even want her to make. Like, no, like I had to go and so like being like, no, like I'm not a kid anymore. I'm an adult. This is where I want to be. And I think that's like so important to find that voice. And also hard, like to tell your parents, like, I don't want to do what you want me to do. I want to do what I want to do.
Very much that, yeah. I think exactly what you said, like, I realized that, like, Arizona just didn't really feel like home anymore, and even, like, where my parents live now is not the house I grew up in, so it wasn't like there was any sort of connection of, like, "Oh, this is my childhood home," but it was also very much that realization of, like, this is just going backwards for me, and, like, I don't wanna lose everything that I've built in Chicago.
And you shouldn't have to either. Like, and I guess I like what your therapist said too about you being your best self provides your family the best support that you can give them. But you being like a shell of yourself, you're not able to give anything because you don't have anything to give. Which I think is super deep and like I guess a reminder to everyone like putting yourself first, which is hard. Like people don't do it often, but I feel like always like thinking like what how do I put myself first, which is hard. And I don't even know how to do it sometimes, but
The practice.
with practice. But thank you for sharing. I feel like that's very vulnerable of you to share on a public forum, but also important. I think I like having conversations like about like this with you and like other friends. 'Cause I think it's important to I don't know. I feel like some conversations you don't get to unpack with your friends or like really get deep and all of that. So, I mean, I know like the two times on the podcast we've gotten really deep both times,
Oh, yeah.
but I appreciate it because I don't know. That's kind of what I like this podcast for. Like, get to know your friends better than you know them already. So, thank you for sharing. And I'm here to support you. I don't. I guess. I mean, I'm sure you know that, but like, if you need anything or ever need to talk, we don't have to come to the podcast.
It's like
Call
Jacqueline's.
me anytime you want to. We can go to Jacqueline's, my favorite place. I was feeling, interestingly enough, it wasn't this week. It was like 2 weeks ago, which I think we went out for drinks that Friday. I think that was kind of like the lowest I was feeling mentally that I had felt in a while. And it wasn't just a breakup. Like that wasn't like honestly, sorry, Andy, if you're listening to this is like the least of like the issues that I had. And I think there was a sense of safety that I was kind of drawing into by like kind of initiating the breakup because I was like putting up my defense wall. But I think like for me, what's been really hard is that I don't know. I feel like when people say like it rains, it pours. Like I feel like when something goes awry in my life, it feels like also this goes awry and that goes bad and this goes bad. And it's like all these things are happening at once. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't physically or mentally like handle all this at once. And I think that was the head that I was like getting to, which I don't ever get to that point. Like I would say I'm pretty sound of mind where I can like contextualize and maybe like worry about this today, worry about that tomorrow. But for some reason that week I was just like really like crashing, like everything was crashing at the same time. And honestly, like I didn't feel better until I like really like broke down about it. Like, which again, I don't normally let myself do because I'm not really like a crier. I'm not really like an emotional person. But I was like, wow, like I really need like and I don't ever do that. So I think we all need to give ourselves permission to break down sometimes too, because that can also lead to like the change that you need or like the adjustment that you need. 'Cause, yeah, I cried and then the next day I was like, "Oh, better today. Actually, crazy.
That's
I was at my lowest yesterday.
that's how I felt after my therapy session. I think it doesn't always have to be crying, like, there's other ways to, like, get that energy and, like, those feelings out, but it definitely helps in terms of, like, releasing it and kind of feeling that sense of relief.
Yeah, was the kind of doing 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, release it. I don't even know what that song is. I hear it all the time. And I'm like,
Funeral
you
thug?
do. I know it. Like I don't know the if someone's like pick the song off a list. What song is this? I have like no idea. Is it called Release Them? I don't think so.
No, it's like it's like the numbers, and then I think it's like release them in parentheses or something like that.
Okay, so maybe I would be able to. And I like seen the person who made the song everywhere, and I
Yes,
like don't know the actual words, and I could probably sing the melody of it, but it's stuck in my head. She's doing her thing.
she had her moment of fame. I'm here for it.
She might still. I feel like I saw her in like a DoorDash commercial or something, and then she sang that song at the ball drop on New Year's Eve.
Well, I didn't
Yeah,
she's getting her coin. I'm
stairs.
I'm all
Hopefully, hopefully they pay. I'm just one. We're both one jingle away from a $2 million check from somebody. Fresca, call me. So before I know we've been talking for a bit, but we wanted to talk about some changes and like the podcast structure and everything. Obviously, it's a new season, season 3. Officially did one season without Melinda, sad face. But I'm excited because I guess like the one thing that I did learn without having like someone like by my side the whole time was it just gets hard to do all by yourself. And so it's funny because I actually talked to my therapist a lot about like this. She's like, you need to find an intern or like you need to find someone to like I bet you can post a LinkedIn post and like find someone to do it. And it was like so like symbiotic where you just like asked me one day what I thought about you like stepping in on the podcast. So what was your like inspiration behind that?
I had actually, like, thought about it a while ago, maybe when you started the last season, but it was something where I was like, I don't know if I really have the time or the energy right now to, like, necessarily show up that way or consistently." And for this year, I was, like, trying to think of just some creative outlets that I would be interested in or kind of, like, play to my strengths or my experience. And this was something that kind of like came up again. And I remember we were out on New Year's Eve, and I brought it up then, was just like, what do you think if I were to help you out in like a producer capacity? Because like you said, there's a lot of hats that you've worn, particularly last season, and it can just be a lot. And a lot of the like logistics and behind the scenes things that I think probably do take a good chunk of the time are the things that I was like, oh, those are the things that I could do or I'm interested in, like the editing or like the social media aspect or coordinating with guests. So not necessarily like on screen or being a voice of the podcast on a regular basis, but kind of behind the scenes, if I remember correctly, because definitely was a little buzzed at that point. But you were like, yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I think I would be into that. And then we did a little handshake and then we met a week or two later to kind of talk through it some more.
No, and something that like I don't know, like I said, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, I really have been talking about this. Like, how do I do this? Like, it's something that I've discovered that I love doing is like talking to people about things I would normally talk to them about, if that makes sense. And I don't know, like even like so a lot of the guests last season were people who I didn't know very well. And I found it very beneficial to really get to know people on like again like a structured level, which I don't think we often get to do as like humans, as friends, to just kind of like have a list of questions you want to ask and be like, what do you want to talk about too? Like also like tell me. So that was something that I really got a lot out from the podcast last year. Um Also other artists, that was something that I was also seeking, just like a space to feel close to artists and specifically 'cause if I'm not like practicing theater and singing. Like I love talking about it. And just a couple of guests I had, I was like, wow, like this is such a great conversation that I had that I would not have had otherwise. But the deteriorating part of the podcast was, I guess, like not the rejection, because like I don't really care about people not saying yes. I think it was people saying yes, but then not following through. So that was like a little like frustrating because like for me, I have a pretty busy work schedule. It's like traveling and like kind of allocating time. And I think it sucks to like like, okay, we're gonna meet at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. On Tuesday, I like make my schedules fit so I can do this time, and then the person doesn't show up. So that was like number one, like, oh, that's frustrating. And like I was excited about this, and like you said, the prep that it takes of just like coming up with like interesting questions. And I do use like AI a little bit to like help me flesh out things and like build a structure, but like I pretty much like in researching these people, like, let me look at their resume, let me look at what they've worked on, let me look at their Instagram and coming up with like just like a general basis by myself. And that was like the like hard part of like, you know, I think the being on the podcast, honestly, is the easy part. It's like you're talking. It can go either way, like whatever way you want it to, but it's all the like thrilling work that makes it hard. So I was really appreciative that you wanted to come on. And like also I think in a way, I know that it's gonna like make us even closer to because even like there I think I saw you, I don't remember the last time I saw you, but like I know we've been talking a little bit even more than we already do about the podcast, and that's been really great. And I think like more video calls and more like chatting about that and like I don't know. I it's a quote that I remember from Issa Rae that like it reminded me like when you did ask me of like she said like people always try to like network across or above themselves of like, oh my gosh, how do I find the next best thing? But often the next best thing is like a colleague or like a peer. And you guys can grow together. Like that's like the growth that usually yields more fruit, I guess. So that's like something that I really one was very grateful for, but two, like, oh great, like this can be like a product that we both like can feel proud of and like work on. So I'm appreciative of you for stepping in. Eli is our new podcast producer.
You'll be hearing from me from time to time, but you'll be hearing my editing work for sure.
You're like me behind the chat.
Yes.
Just put a little watermark like Eli on the beat or something. um, so I'm excited. I'm excited to see like where it can grow, and I think obviously like we've been talking a lot about like process and like structure, like what I want you to feel like you are getting what you want out of the podcast, but also not being like the I think like a producer can sometimes just feel like a behind the scenes workhorse, but I don't want you to feel like that. So like is there anything you need or like any like role you want to step up more in, like please let me know. Like I like honestly, if I could just show up, if I could be Melinda and show up and do the job, she knows that's who she was. But if I could be that and like just show up and do the job, I would love that. I do like some of the creative like aspects of like thinking about who to put on and like maybe like getting them like thinking about what you want to talk about with them. But also feel free like if you're ever like, Donnie, you should put this person on a podcast. I think this person will be great. Like I'm happy to chat with them or like you said, like you don't want to be on camera all the time, but if there's ever a topic that you're like, we need to talk about this, I want to be a part of it, like please come in. You are always welcome.
I think that's kind of like what I'm excited about, the like yin yang aspect of it. Like the things that you're like, they're not, my most favorite, or they're kind of what are the drawbacks of having a podcast are the things that like, oh, that's where I want to help, or that's where I feel like are my strengths, and vice versa. So I think it'll be a good combination, and I'm excited to see kind of how our strengths play on each other.
I agree. And I even like how curious you are to like the first thing I thought about is when you first logged, it was like, oh, whatever happened to this episode? I was like, an episode like I just did not feel like editing, which is why I never released it. Sorry, Adam. Maybe it'll come out in season three. We'll look at it with fresh eyes. I also think that's gonna be a good aspect to add because I think I can fall victim to not necessarily paying as much attention to the content piece because like to me I'm like I'm there, I was there. But also like I think maybe sometimes it'd be like I don't know if we need this section, or like I don't know if like this section added a lot, let's take this out. Again, you have free creative liberty to do as you will. And I again the collaborative process too is exciting to me.
Likewise.
And then we'll have your sister on the podcast soon. I feel like you should come on that episode.
Toxin. You
And
called?
I like you guys' dynamics. Yeah, I don't want to like capture that in the bottle. I never forget the first time I met her. I was like, she's close. I like her. Cool gal. So I guess like any last minute takeaways. I know we kind of talked all over the place, but about growth, 2026, mental health, all of the above.
Yeah, I think I'm just looking forward to the growth of the year, continued growth, and kind of applying the trials and tribulations of last year and pouring into myself, and like actually from like not like a foo-foo like fake type of way, but like, oh, this actually like feels good and makes me happy and like fills my cup up. It's kind of the lens that I'm really focusing on, but excited for all of the goals that I have and the different ways that I'm gonna try to stretch myself and to try new things. So we'll see how it goes.
I feel I connect on that. I'm excited to just like see what happens next. I actually don't know like where I see like the course of my life like turning into over the next year, 2 years. I don't know, but I'm actually open to like all possibilities. And I think that's kind of an exciting position to be in, like open to what comes next. I'm excited that you're back in Chicago, number one. I'm excited to have more adventures with you, whether it's like here in Chicago, whether it's traveling. Like I want to travel more too. So like count me in if you ever have a trip or want to take a day trip or anything like that. Like I'm always down. Um, I like being spontaneous too, so I'm excited to have someone to be like, let's do this like today. Like I'm such that person. I'm sure you're real. Is that like I'm kind of like, let's drop everything and do this now. So I'm excited to kind of lean into that as well. Um, yeah, I'm excited to see what life has to offer. Like what's next for me? What I'm traveling internationally soon. That would be fun. And yeah, there's a lot of opportunities on the horizon that I'm just waiting to uncover. Like there's exciting things happening, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Be open to it.
Yes, I'm very open to whatever happens. Just what everything over the next year. And it's my 30th year. Also, I literally have 9 days left to being 29. Also having a big birthday party, so that's exciting. I did have a big birthday party last year, but it was like a joint birthday party, and I haven't ever had a party just for me, and everyone's coming just for me. And I really like invite everyone that I felt like would come and should come, and I'm just excited to have like people in the room to celebrate me too, which I don't ever take the time to do a lot. So that's gonna be fun. And yeah, excited for friendships and maybe relationships. We'll see. I don't know.
Never know.
You never know. All right. Well, that's all I think. Do you have anything else?
No, I think we can wrap it, but it's been real. I had a good time.
Me too. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you the next episode. We're gonna kick this off with this one. and then you're gonna see a lot more. So peace out.
Thanks.